Hey everyone, welcome back to today's podcast, which is about the Women's Leadership Podcast, where we invite different women leaders across the world. And the whole goal is to inspire more women at the leadership roles and how they share their experiences and insights. From that, if some of the women can gain that and can increase and can accelerate their career. So that's the whole purpose. And today we have invited somebody from Singapore, but she is originally from India, Poonam. So she is from the B2B marketing side and tech, and she can tell more about herself. But the whole purpose is that the way she's going to share her insights from the field, the woman who wants to grow in their career into the field of B2B marketing and sales. So please, Poonam, welcome to this podcast. How are you?
I'm very good and thank you for this opportunity. It's lovely to be here, and I hope that I'm able to share something that the future aspirants can take away from.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, Poonam, before we go further, I would like you can introduce about yourself because I think the way you will express your journey, I can't express that way.
Yeah, sure. Happy to do that. I have over 25 years of experience, work experience. But I think a lot of people don't know that about me. I started my career in pharma. I did my MSc in foods and pharmaceuticals. And then I realized that I wanted something that is more creative and fast, where I can actually contribute. So I quickly pivoted to B2B marketing, and I have spent over 23 years B2B marketing now, building go to market strategies, sales programs, and building high impact teams across APAC, EMEA, and more. Currently, I focus on aligning marketing and sales together to drive business growth because it is aligning strategy with execution, which will drive B2B today. So that's what I do, and I'm happy to be here.
Before we move further, Poonam, how was your transition like from pharma as an education into the B2B? Because I know the both are very different fields.
Very,
Yeah.
very. Um, and that is something that is one of my life lessons that when
Mm.
you realize that this is not something that you want to pursue, don't try and stick to it because it's called, the sunk fallacy in
Mm.
psychological, that you stick to something that you've invested so much in, but it's not going to give you anything more. It's a sunk cost. It's already gone. So might as well go and pursue something that your heart believes in, and the opportunities will come up. One of the things that worked for me was that was the time the dot-com bubble was happening, and the whole internet was just
Yeah.
opening up, and it was a good transition, because they didn't have too many talents that time who understood the internet.
Hmm.
And so when I moved into content, then I built myself into marketing, and I've been learning on the job. So, which is what my first advice to anybody would be, that don't be hesitant. If the opportunity comes your way, pick it. You will learn on the way.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing it. That totally true because sometimes we spend so many years at one place and then we realize that this is not something for us. Yeah. So with that, I want to ask you, Poonam, you have 20 more than 20 years of experience in driving growth and leading strategies across multiple regions, from Asia Pacific to America. How has your approach evolved over time to navigate this dynamic field of B2B marketing?
So when I came into marketing, which was a long time ago, marketing was looked at as a supporting function, right? This team is supposed to do events and do awareness, and that time mostly print.
Mm.
Um, from there to today, it's been a huge shift, because marketing today is not just driving pie or demand, it is actually sitting on the table, driving or contributing big time into the business strategy, because the world as we know it has completely changed,
Mhm.
right? So I think the biggest change that has happened is marketing is also evolved to become more strategic, more business conscious, and is able to bring in a lot more than just, uh, event or outbound or,
Mm.
piecemeal kind of a thing. So
Yeah.
that's been a big shift that has happened. Uh, that we are not just, campaign runners anymore.
Hmm. Yeah. But I want to ask you here, like, of course, like earlier the marketing, like earlier there was a whole bucket, like one person used to do earlier. Now there is an influencer marketing. This like outbound is different, inbound, everything is coming different way, okay, with the different domains. And with the changes, with the technology, some things has been changed which are still not exist, which were there earlier. Okay, if you think for a moment, like, is there something which does not exist now, which was earlier there doing very well? But do you think if you wish being a marketeer, it still exists?
I think it's coming back. I mean, COVID changed the way, the people to people interaction happened,
Yeah.
right? Uh, but it's coming back because a lot of countries, however forward, would like people to people interaction. So that's one thing. Second thing is, I think the entire buying process has changed. I mean, when I started, I used to know all my customers. I used to know their birthdays, their anniversaries. It was still a very personal kind of a thing. You
True.
know, Today it's everything is just a lead or an opportunity or a number.
Hmm.
So that personalization, which with AI, I'm guessing is going to come back again, but we have we lost the track somewhere, of customer centricity,
Hmm.
which is slowly coming back. So the things that are like people to people engagement, very important, and being customer focused. These two things had gone missing uh, for some years, but I can see them coming back.
Yeah. And I think I can connect with that because I was in CS. I remember I used to remember my customers' birthdays, the personal touch, going there with maybe sometimes with them lunch, dinner. It was such a personal touch with them. That relationship bond was there. Yeah, yeah,
And
true.
that's how you build trust, right? I
Yeah,
mean, but
yeah.
today it's a very crowded environment.
Hmm.
Everybody is vying for the same attention. So
Correct. Yeah,
we learn.
yeah. And I think I remember also with this, because it's been like many years, the clients who was there, 11, 12 years back. But still, whenever I go back and connect with them, they know me, the connection is there because that was built onto the foundation part. Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
don't you think that went missing for some time?
I think it went missing because even I would say not only now, before COVID also, Poonam, what happened like around 2017, 18 also, when I see like when I started my career and every year, like the new generations are coming. Yeah. I see that they were missing the touch because of those lot of high pressure environment. They were like, got so much, overwhelmed with the pressure and targets into the sales field that their whole time is into the stress rather than achieving the targets at a very fast pace rather than building the relationship with the client. And I used to see that part was always missing. And somehow, like clients also understand that part very well. They also don't build that connection and bond with those people.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. And then the company is like, why the targets are not happening, why the sales is not coming. So it's like, the basic things, which is like, it's like, for example, somebody is sick, okay, and they are doing something things by listening somewhere, the superficial things, okay, but they don't go and check what is the root cause. So in those cases, the companies has to understand what is the root cause, why those things are not happening right now.
True.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think companies are realizing that
Yeah.
and are slowly coming back to it.
Yes. Yeah. 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 And Puram, how has, if I ask you, B2B marketing has evolved over the years? Okay, of course, it has evolved a lot, but what are trends should professionals focus on the way you are seeing the trends right now?
Um, if I have to, like quickly summarize before I get into the details, it
Hmm.
would be, it's becoming more data driven. Okay. Very, very data driven because uh, data also shows that 80% of the buying process happens even before the customer has spoken to you. There is so much information available in the market that they do their shortlisting even without talking to any of the vendors. So, in that case, you have to be where the customer is. So, data becomes critical. Two, as I mentioned, that customer centricity is coming back, you know. And three, it is very closely, B2B marketing is now very closely working with the sales outcomes.
Yeah.
What is the business impact that we are driving? Unlike, many years back where it used to be, oh, I've created so much leads for you to
Mhm.
work on. It is now, okay, that was one part of it, but how am I enabling the entire customer journey? So the three things, if I have to call out, it is you as a B2B marketeer are moving away from campaigns and looking at ecosystems, which means that you're working on orchestrating the entire end-to-end customer journey.
Yeah.
As you said sometime back, marketing today is not just doing outbound, right?
Yeah.
There is digital, there is events, there is a content strategy, there is social media, there is ABM, there is influencer, there is channel, and there'll be some more, AI, for example, coming in.
Mhm.
So you are mapping the entire customer journey from awareness to even renewal, post
Yeah.
sales. So that is one big shift that, marketing is now looking at the entire buying cycle and not looking at just, okay, my job ends top of the funnel,
Mhm.
right? Second thing that I am seeing happening, or which has happened very well in B2C, is AI driven personalization. I am expecting B2B marketing to become hyper personalized in the next 6 months to 1 year,
Mhm.
which means that the AI powered engagement will make every touch point with the customer relevant to that customer. You
Mhm.
know, unlike sending the same white paper to 10,000 people, now when Himani comes to my event or my website, she will get something that she is interested in and not the entire bouquet I have to offer.
Mhm.
So AI will ensure that hyper personalization happens. And third thing that again a lot of B2B guys are looking into is community led initiatives,
Yeah.
which is brand led communities, user groups, customer advocates, the micro influencers, and the thought leadership part, which will help them build long term influence.
Mhm.
So I think these are the three things. So if I have to summarize it, it will be,
Yeah.
um, data, storytelling, AI. How are you able to translate that data into insights, which then lead to action? So that entire story, AI, of course, and community, three things.
I have two questions, Poonam, from you here, from here. One is like, of course, in B2C, have seen a lot of community-driven projects. Yeah. But do you think it can be successfully implemented into the B2B side also, those community-driven projects, and it will get the
If you
results
become
to the company? Yeah.
I think so because people buy from people.
Mm-hmm.
And if you see the market, even in B2B, we have seen that if I am a manufacturing company, I want to see what my peer or my competitor is using, because then I know if it's working for them, it's
Mm-hmm.
likely working for me. It will work for me. So the peer group is very important. If there are 10 CIOs who come together into a room to discuss, a vendor,
Mm-hmm.
and if nine of them are talking bad, you have already ensured that, the 10 other people they speak to, you're not going to get any good reviews.
Yeah.
So yes, it will be important. It will not be that scale. It
Yeah.
will not be that scalable, because obviously the volumes are different.
Mm.
um, and this will be also very specific, like, it will not be uh, a XYZ company community. It will be a finance led community. It will be a HR led community. It will be an IT led community. So, but my belief it will work,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm seeing it happening. So yeah.
And one question is coming from where, because recently when I have done few events, okay, and there were few founders who were women, okay, and they were running a business into the tech space, for example, someone having cybersecurity, for example, okay, and the whole business was on the B2B model. And whatever they were doing, the conversion of the business was through the references. Another part strategy which they were doing was marketing, mostly the email marketing, where they go to the agencies, doing the lead generation in the bulk, and through that they were doing the email marketing. And then I asked them how much is the conversion. They were like hardly 1%. Okay,
Hmm.
because firstly when they were doing the email marketing, they were hardly able to get maybe few appointments. And from that, like, what do you used to do? They were like, yeah, we just go and pitch the product there, and hardly there was any conversion. So what do you want to say?
Hmm.
Those, especially I see there are, of course, firstly there are very few women who are into the founder space, and especially into the tech founder, and then they face these issues, especially into the B2B side. What do you suggest for them? Like maybe they can have a better conversions. Yeah.
So email marketing still remains one of the biggest converters, but
Mm,
as I mentioned again before this, that if you're sending 10,000 mails to people who are not your target audience, then your conversion is going to be 1%.
yeah.
You have to do some more research and data into who is the target audience, what is the USP you have for, what is the value proposition you have for them, why should they talk to you,
Mhm,
what is that you're bringing to table that the competition is not bringing. You have to create a niche. It's very important
mhm,
because otherwise you will end up in a spam.
mm,
They are not even seeing your mails because you're just doing one size fits all, which is why AI will help you hyper personalize.
mm,
Okay, like this person came and his comment was that XY, my security for my this application is a concern. So let me talk to him in his language.
mm.
Instead of trying and saying how great my product is, I will then change it to how I'm going to help you solve your problem. And the dialogue becomes very different.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, if you go back, I think I found one more challenge problem there is that um, these were the one, who does not have a budget and to have the business development advisor. Okay.
Hmm.
So they were doing the sales themselves, these founders. And when they don't
Hmm.
have that experience, what was happening was like they were just going and pitching the product. It's good, but I think that because into the sales snack, the person knows how to build that relationship, crack that, what words to use. I think that part was, I think, was missing. And I think just by if they get the leads also, if they get the meetings also, going in into those meetings, they were not able to convert also those leads. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, but sales, you come from sales, so
yeah,
you know it better than I do.
yeah,
But sales is all about putting the customer first,
yeah,
understanding their challenges and then positioning your solution in a way that helps them,
yeah.
right? If you take a product first approach,
Mm-hmm.
you are not talking the customer's language,
True.
and that becomes your first wall because
Yeah,
so even if you don't have budget, even if you don't have anything, there are a lot of ways that you can look at intent signals. You
mm-hmm.
can look at their hiring patterns. You can look at what are they talking about in the market.
Mm-hmm.
These are freely available. You don't really need to
Yeah,
invest, but you have to invest in researching your target customer.
yeah, true. Yeah. And with this, before moving a further question, like, I just want to say, like, into the sales, like, when we're talking about sales, we always say how fast you understand the customer psychology, the way you are able to convert that. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you are also a coach. So you know how,
Yeah.
how important your
Yeah.
words are, how important mirroring is, how
Yeah.
important,
Yeah.
speaking the customer's languages.
Yeah.
So I think especially if women are coming to you with these concerns, they just need the change in the mindset of the way they approach. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it should help them.
Yeah. Until the time, like, what discussion we have, if I take the some crux is like, firstly, they have to use the AI into the very personalized way so that they can, convert the results. Another thing is, yes, personalization has to be added into their communication, touch everywhere. And apart from this, yes, they have to do more research to understand their target audience and how to position themselves in the market. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you. So if I ask you that you have, led go-to-market strategies and driven business growth across multiple regions, okay? And I know every
Hmm.
region has like work in a different way as the target audience is different. So what unique leadership challenges did you face, and how did you adopt your approach to diverse market?
Okay.
Yeah.
So like you already said, the one of the biggest lessons I learned is that almost always what works in one market would
Mhm.
not work in another.
Yeah.
You know, Japan, it's traditional. It's runs on trust. Decisions are made consensually. One person doesn't decide. So, it's a time
Mhm.
process. US, it's speed and efficiency.
Okay.
ASEAN and EMEA, they're very diverse,
Mhm.
like averaging out 17 and 30 countries, in this region. So localization becomes very important. India still runs on this, like I mentioned, peer engagements, people to people connection, that
Yeah.
plays very high on India. So, so it's important to
Mhm.
adapt, right? So I'll just give you an example. We launched a GTM playbook in ASEAN, okay, as part of the global rollout, and it just didn't land. It flopped. Um, so instead of trying to keep pushing that, we stepped back and we started talking to the regional leads and the team, saying that, okay, tell us, how do we package this so that it resonates in your market? So even if the language is English, for example, the way you package it in terms of messaging without losing the gist of what your global strategy is becomes very important.
Yeah.
So for me, um, don't assume, first of all.
Mm.
You listen to what the market wants, then you adapt, and then you work with your teams and empower them to shape strategies that work locally.
Mhm.
So you just cannot go with a one size fits all. That's a definite lesson.
Yeah. Poonam, here I want to ask, like, I know, like, adaptation, of course, one is like doing for the company, but adaptation as a person also when working in different regions is also not easy. How you have adapted, like, when you worked into these different countries?
I see, person to person, it's still okay,
Mm.
because you understand, you take time, you build relationships, and you build trust by not pushing through, but basically, providing help.
Mm-hmm.
You become a partner to them. So when they don't see you as a threat or somebody who is just bossing around,
Mm.
um, you know, that's how you bring influence into the game,
Yeah.
right? So collaboration is very important. Uh, Showcasing them is very important. Uh, and then you build that one-on-one relationship, then you go deeper into the relationship. So as a person, it's very different from
Mhm.
a corporate strategy, right?
Yeah.
And I think that that depends on who you are as a person, and
Yeah.
how you come across and what your intention is. People are very good at reading intention. So
Yeah.
if you are out there to boss, you will not get any chance. But if you're actually genuinely wanting to support and help, I
Mhm.
think most people are happy to welcome you.
Mhm. And how you, oh, like you worked in the tech space for a long time. Okay. Being a female leader, how have you found yourself like there into that tech space? Yeah.
Interesting question.
Yeah.
Uh, how did I find myself? So when I started working,
Mhm.
I mean, it's 2 decades back. So obviously, world was very different, and it was. I mean, it's hard to say it now, but it was a male dominated
Mm.
um, team. I mean, tech itself was male dominated, and then everybody in the leadership team likely to be men.
Mhm.
So, and if you're from this part of the world where speaking up doesn't come naturally to you,
Yeah.
you suffer. So I think but as you mature, you realize nobody else is going to do it for you, right?
Mhm.
So I think the few things that have changed is that women are coming into leadership positions a lot
Yeah.
more now. Over the last decade, I can say.
Mhm.
Uh, Not in the C-suite, we still have work to do there, but
Yeah.
definitely coming into leadership positions. Um, a shift is happening, I mean, from a marketing perspective, that a marketing person is not looked at only as an events and advertising person, but more as a business enabler,
Yeah.
right? So that allows a little more opportunity. Third, the change that has happened is that, the flexible hybrid model that people have now been okay with, allows a woman also to balance her growth as well as her life,
Correct.
you
Yeah.
know. So these changes have happened. So I see that we have a lot of opportunities now.
Yeah.
Women are more vocal. Um, they are, getting executive sponsorships.
Mm.
They are in the boardroom conversations and in leadership role. But I still think we need to own our own seat as well as pull other women into it. We need to
Yeah.
advocate for them as well. But there is definitely a huge change
Mm.
that I have seen myself. So
Yeah.
it's a good change.
So it's been like, Poonam, like, can say, like, COVID was a big blessing for the woman to get that opportunity for the flexible working. Yeah.
I think so. And I think the world, the way it's
Yeah.
operate also has changed, right? Like
Change.
people
Yeah.
are people are okay to do Zoom
Yeah.
calls. They don't expect you
Yeah.
to but still I think people want to go back and
Hmm.
change the new normal into the old normal. It'll take time.
Yeah. Because why I asked you this question, because I know into the tech space also I heard a few people saying, and I worked in the financial industry saying that, oh my God, we have to hire the more women leaders and more women into our team because we are getting the pressure from HR. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't want to comment on it. It's got its pros and cons, but
Yeah.
I think from what I have seen, most of the women that I know have not come because of pressure, but have
Yeah.
come because of merit.
Correct.
Um, so I don't know about today.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the only thing I can say. Of course, they have to choose with the merit, but the thing is, if that mentality has to be changed also, they don't have to just work with that HR pressure. They have to see what advantage they can bring into the team also.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. If I ask you, Poonam, what strategies have helped you build credibility and influence when entering new regional markets? Of course, one is like you told about person to person, it changes. But something which you can give, because working in Japan market, working in America market, it's very, very different. Like one east, one west, right? How it has helped you with such a diverse stakeholders.
Yeah. So as I already said,
Yeah.
don't try and be the loudest voice in the room.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't try and push your agenda. But if I have to give you like 3 points that have worked for me,
Mm-hmm.
one is listen first and act next.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get into a new market, talk to the people who are there. They obviously know better than you. Okay. So before you start giving your ideas, understand the lay of the land, understand their business challenges, understand what they actually want,
Mm-hmm.
and then, build your uh, action around it. Don't try and take your ideas and, say that run with it. It likely wouldn't fly. Two, try and find quick wins, like you don't have to take a huge, large scale project, but
Mm-hmm.
find a gap that country has, which nobody is, lifting their hands to solve, and pick up that and solve it for them. Make the small wins count. uh, it'll open much much bigger doors for you because
Mm-hmm.
now they see you as somebody who's trying to help.
Yeah.
And third, be a connector. If you're in a position where, for example, when I was sitting in a regional role and I have a view of, five other countries,
Mm-hmm.
then, I am able to connect. I am able to bring best practices from one region to the other. I am able to solve, if a similar customer challenge has happened someplace else, I'm able to connect the two. I'm able to showcase what they are doing at a country level, at a global level.
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to advocate for them. I am able to connect them to global stakeholders where they can voice their concerns. So you become a catalyst,
Yeah.
you know. So it automatically helps you, get a lot of trust and, influence without trying to be a pushover.
Yeah.
Um, so if you want to, so if I have to say it in one line, if you
Yeah.
want to build influence or, start, go with the intention of adding value
Mm-hmm.
and it will work.
Yeah. And I think that's change. I can see also a lot of like founder companies, like, who are into the B2C, D2C space also coming with them, speaking out into the public. They have started because they want to give the value and it is working for them also. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, true.
I mean, a lot of companies give freemiums, right? You try before you buy.
True.
Try 1 month trials. These
Mm,
are all
yeah,
like, to
yeah,
build that trust. Like,
correct. Yeah. Okay, this is like, you have worked into the B2B as a woman leader. How has that landscape evolved since you started? And what opportunities do you see? Because, of course, one is AI, but do you see any other opportunities are going to evolve into that space?
um, there are many, many, like B2B itself is a huge space, right?
It's a
So
very tough
depends. Like,
space, also, Poonam. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, it is. And like I mentioned about the customer buying cycle. So
yeah.
your data and content becomes very important. So, those parts will become very important. And how you use data into uh, pulling out the insights,
Mm,
and then, using them in your content strategy or your go-to-market strategy or your channel or whatever else that, or even digital, you know.
yeah,
Um, how are you engaging with your audience when you're not trying to sell to them? You know,
mm,
um, I mean, what happened a few years back was it was very transactional. You sell and you walk away.
correct.
So, but I think it's gonna come back where, because in the world today where it is everything is on cloud,
Mm,
it is very important that that customer is a repeat customer and that customer is a happy customer. So how are you engaging with that customer beyond when he's not buying from you, he as
mm-hmm,
in the company? Uh, that will become important. Which was your personalization will come into play, your loyalty programs will come into play, your advocacy will come into play, your post sales constant,
mm,
like, hi, how are you, I just wanted to check in,
mm,
will come into play, and these will become important.
yeah,
So there will be a lot of opportunities that will come up, and and we are already seeing a few of them, happening.
yeah.
um, Content I see is big, data I see is big, uh, customer centricity is very big.
Anything particular, Poonam, do you feel that these days B2B market is adopting as a strategy? Okay. But do you think it does not make sense for them to invest so much onto that?
Again, it depends on the company.
Yeah.
But I am seeing that a lot of companies are trying to do less but more impactful things. So very clearly identifying the target audience, very clearly identifying how they want to communicate with them.
Mm-hmm.
Will it be in an offline? Will it be on other third-party digital platforms, or do they want to bring them to their uh, own media?
Yeah.
So right now they are going into that whole thing of how do they enable this, because as you rightly said, every part of marketing had its own
Mm.
KPI. Digital used to do, top of funnel, and then there will be events that come, more middle of funnel, and then there'll be ABM that comes bottom of funnel. For example, now they are trying to say, okay, how do we make an integrated story?
Mm.
How do I take the top of the funnel up until the, sale? And so I see that, very close engagement with sales coming into play there.
Yeah.
That I have to understand what the customer is saying, what are his objections. I have to build that into my content to address it upfront,
Mm-hmm.
not during the time of sale,
Yeah.
right? So there are a lot of things that are happening, but
Mm-hmm.
because it's B2B, it will take some time because
Yeah.
there is just so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's one
it's
thing,
not like
Poonam,
B2C.
what about white paper? Like a white paper, of course, it is useful as one of the content, okay? And a lot of people invest also, like writing them and then, of course, publishing them. But do you think in the coming years it is going to really help the B2B space into like publishing white papers for like maybe getting as a marketing tool and converting the sales? Do you think?
Um, So for me, white paper, blogs, all
Mm.
of these are, long form content. Okay. These
Yeah.
are, and these are also content that this is not just a white paper. Now imagine if you take a white paper and if you're able to make a 1 minute video
Oh, yeah.
summarizing the white paper. you are creating like three things that are happening, which is a takeaway from this white paper. You
Okay.
are linking it to a customer story.
Mm-hmm.
So you can use the same content in multiple different formats and templates based on where your audience is,
Okay.
which is why this whole content strategy will become very, very critical. So
Mm.
you build one piece of content, but
Yeah.
you have to, you have the option of leveraging it in different ways and formats,
Mm-hmm.
um, making it accessible and consumable to different kind of audiences.
Mm. Yeah.
So for a CEO, you don't want to send a 15-page white paper. You
Yes.
just want to
Yeah.
send them, like one 5 points that I'm
Correct.
going to do for you, right?
Yeah.
And it can be a takeaway from that paper. So I'm not thinking that white papers are going to go out of fashion,
Mm-hmm.
but they will be used more uh, in a much more different way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think then that's a good part which you discussed. Yeah, because I always used to think maybe like for like people like for CEO founders, how does it make sense? But you're right. How to use it in a different way can really work for them. Yeah. Thank you. What's your advice for women transitioning from being individual contributors to leading the teams? Because it's a complete shift. And I've seen also, very frankly, Poonam, like a lot of women, when they go to leadership positions, they think at that time, should we leave this role or should we continue?
Oh,
Yeah.
so I moved into a team management role a decade plus ago. And I'm assuming that, everybody who's moving from an IC role to a leadership role has aspiration, has shown commitment, and has the capability, and therefore has moved in that role. I can tell you from my part, one of the biggest mindset shift that you have to do is, as an IC, you're doing it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And now you have to move to enabling others to do it. Okay. And that shift is what sometimes, that I'm enabling them. And now I'm also responsible for, their success, because as a team leader, my success is as good as my team is. So the three things, and again, I like this 3 point things
Mm-hmm.
that, I mean, like, just to simplify. First of all, if you're a woman leader who's moved from an IC to uh, a management role, know your team, know about your team, try and do, try and get them to do a self SWOT analysis. Okay.
Mm.
Because that will also help you understand what their aspirations are, what their challenges are. That's one. Okay. So I generally start with that. I mean, not immediately day one, but at least a month once you've engaged with them, ask them to do a SWOT.
Yeah.
Two, I mean, and when you take a management position, as I mentioned, that you have to let go of that nobody can do better than me mindset, you know,
Yeah.
because nobody can do it better than you if you don't allow them.
Mm.
So delegate with confidence. Your job is not micromanaging. Your job is to coach them
Mm.
to make them as good as you or even better. Right. So point number one, delegate with confidence.
Mm.
Second, uh, lead with clarity, as in give them very clear KPIs,
Mm.
because it's always easier for a team to work towards a defined goal.
Mm.
And, there is no ambiguity then. Oh, I thought that was my KPI. Oh, wasn't I supposed to do this? And third, you also are now the owner for not only communicating down to your team, but
Mm.
also taking and becoming their advocates upwards.
Yeah, true.
So you have to showcase and advocate for them.
Mm.
So finally, you're as good as your team is. So
Mm.
I think these three things have helped me a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And Puran, just want to add, one thing. What when you're speaking, I was just correlating two things. A lot of times, of course, it happens with men also. But if we are talking right now about the women's side here, it happens like when they feel okay, if they feel that if we have to delegate and they are not able to deliver it, so they feel it will give us a lot of stress rather than doing it. Let me do myself. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And another thing which I've seen also at home also a lot of times women feel okay, let me do myself the whole work. Okay, don't give to the family members and maybe the kids. Yeah. And then that somehow the conditioning comes into the workplace also. Yeah.
Yeah, they learn it the hard way because you will burn
Yeah.
out,
Yeah.
you know. Um, And that happens. I mean, that's what I said, from doing it yourself to enabling is the biggest transit that you have to go through.
Correct.
But the sooner you do it, the
Mm.
better, because it will also help you identify your team's skill sets and capabilities early on. If you
Mhm.
don't delegate and if you're doing their job,
Yeah,
then you're not helping them grow,
true.
right? So I understand that. I initially, when everybody goes into that leadership role, I'm sure they will be faced with this dilemma. But I'm telling you from experience, and don't
Mhm.
do my mistakes. Just
Yeah,
delegate.
yeah, yeah, true. And what practices, have you has helped you stay resilient while managing high pressure global responsibilities? Because I know B2B marketing and B2B sales is not at all easy.
It is not, and it's not getting easier, right?
Yes.
Uh,
Especially
uh,
say like cycle also. Like you firstly do marketing, okay, and then you have to put, the responsibility on those salespeople to convert. And the sales cycle is big. And when it takes time to get the results, the company is like, okay, what's happening now?
but I think that people have, I mean, thankfully, a lot
Mm,
of people have grown within the industry, so they understand the challenges, and
correct.
it's not as bad. Of course, it can be better, but it's
Yeah,
definitely not bad. Um, Resilience, right? I mean,
yeah.
wow. Uh, 25 years of work experience. I have, just to tell you, resilience is not about working hard, but it is about working smart and protecting your energy. Uh,
True.
by which I mean prioritize ruthlessly. Uh, Not everything needs to be done.
Mm,
So, clearly choose what are the high impact things that you do which actually make a difference. You can be doing a lot of things that don't matter,
yeah.
right? So prioritize ruthlessly. Second, uh, protect your time, by
Mm,
which I mean learn to say no.
true. Which
Don't
women
say
has
yes
to
to
learn,
whoever.
especially.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't come easy,
Yeah.
I mean, there are days I'll still say yes to things that I don't want to, but
Mm,
it's very rare,
mm,
you know. But this is for anybody,
true.
you learn to say no, because every yes you say to something, you're saying no to something else. And
Yeah.
this could be, your time with your family, your own time, upskilling, uh, doing something that is more impactful, so definitely protect your time. And third, have a reset strategy.
Mm,
Okay, whatever works for you, whether it is walking, whether it is journaling, whether it is music, or
mm,
whether it is taking a 2 3 day break.
yeah.
So basically, resilience is not about, oh, I'm going to try and keep doing.
Mm,
You should know when to pause, reset, and refocus.
yeah.
You know, so for me, that's how I've been. I mean, it takes time. If
Of
you're a
course.
fresher, obviously, you should
Mhm,
spend all your time learning, because
mhm.
there's nothing better than that. But if you've already experienced, then don't burn out.
Yeah, true. And Poonam, I love the word when you say protect your energy, protect your time, because I'm also a big believer into that, especially protect like energy, because the reason is this, we all have a certain set of energy in our life. Yeah. If we will put that energy maybe into some maybe unnecessary space, talks, wherever, yeah, it is going to make us burn exhausted, right? And then of course the productivity will not come. So the word which we use in a corporate, okay, one is like person is present, but it's a presentism, right? Right?
Yeah,
So if the person is coming also not on a leave, but the thing is that the person is not focused, can't focus only
yeah,
because of few things. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and yeah. So I think yeah, that's a good way. Like maybe the people can start doing it and protect their energy, because the whole market, the global landscape is changing. Companies are changing. A lot of I would say the layoffs happen in a lot of companies, and it is giving people the pressure. So protect your energy. Yeah, that's right. And just last question, for women aiming to build a career in B2B marketing and as a growth strategist, what skills should they prioritize developing into the next 3 to 5 years?
I think over the entire
Yeah,
time that we have spoken,
yeah,
it's come out. Okay,
yeah.
so data becomes
Mm,
very critical. You have to have the analytical thinking or mindset to be able to translate insights into decisions or actionable things. That is going to be a game changer. And that's not going to go away. There have been documentaries on Netflix, and data is a new oil, you
Yeah.
know, and every minute the amount of data that is being created and is just crazy.
Mm.
So, data storytelling is very important. AI fluency, we already discussed, and it's
Yeah.
going to continue. It's just
Yeah.
going to go, more tools and more tools. So
Yeah.
here, I have got questions like, what do you mean by AI fluency? There are just so many tools,
True.
and like I said, like choose. I believe in jack of all trades, master of one.
Yeah.
So know your marketing overall, okay, but focus on what your interest is. Like look at what if for example if you're in ABM, okay, so look at what AI can do for ABM.
Mm.
You don't have to learn 100 tools that are there in the market because you will not be good at anything,
Yeah.
and it's a skill. I mean, you can always acquire a skill. So look at, if you want to start, then look at seeing how it can help you in
Hmm.
whatever you're doing currently, and then see how that aligns into the larger marketing team or organization. You know, uh, so don't try and boil the ocean.
Yeah.
And third, work on your executive presence.
Mm.
And by executive presence, I don't mean that go and only stand in events and talk.
Mm. True.
Uh, think and position yourself as a business leader and not a marketer.
Mm.
You have to have the understanding of the business you're operating in to have that conversation and people to look at you
Mm.
as a holistic leader.
Mm.
You know, so I think the three things is like develop business acumen, analytical thinking, and build your presence.
True. And I think these three things, Poonam, is not only going to help them to their corporate, even if they run their own business also, these three things will help them.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
these are life skills.
Yeah. Yeah. You can say these are the life skills and survival skills in the coming years.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I think it was really, really good, Poonam, to have a lot of conversation with you. And of course, when we're talking also about some B2B space, because I also work B2B, but not marketing, sales side, but a lot of things I was able to connect with you when you were saying it. And I really hope, these insights can help the woman who wants to build their career into the B2B space. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure,
Yeah.
and I look forward to more conversations
Yeah.
later.
Yeah. Thank you, Poonam. Thank you.
Thank